The Supreme Court has affirmed Sly Ezeokenwa as the national chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA. A five-member panel of the Apex Court, in two unanimous judgments, invalidated Chief Edozie Njoku's claim to the national leadership position in the party. It held that its earlier verdict, delivered on October 14, 2021 and corrected on March 24, 2023, which Chief Njoku purportedly relied on to lay claim to APGA chairmanship, did not confer any enforceable rights on him. In the late decision that was read by Justice Stephen Adder, the Apex Court stressed that the release he granted on the protracted APGA leadership tussle in 2021 were only declaratory and not executory. The court noted that it particularly held that the issue of leadership, or who becomes the chairman of a political party, was an internal matter that is non-justiciable. Justice Adder held that it was wrong for Njoku to have gone before the lower court to enforce a judgment that had nothing to be enforced, as no executory relief was granted to him. Joining us now on this show to discuss the victory of the party and the unity within the party is Sly Ezeokenwa, the national chairman of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, as pronounced by the courts. Good morning, Chairman APGA. Thank you for joining us on the morning show. Yeah, okay. Very quickly, which one comes first?
And I must confess it is heartwarming hearing that from you, that I'm the chairman of APGA.
Well, but I would also like to ask you to take us through the court process. Which one comes first? Because
Absolutely.
From the narrative that I have given, there was a 2021 ruling by the Supreme Court. There was a March 2024
Absolutely.
ruling by the Supreme Court, which was clarifying
Absolutely.
the judgment of 2021.
Absolutely.
But I am aware that last week in the
Absolutely.
Federal High Court, the Court of Justice James Omotosho, there was another ruling in which, Justice Omotosho, about 5 declaratory and, orders, but the sum of it saying that INEC has to recognize you and that your rival, Njoku, has no existing court order to stand on. But the narrative is talking about March 2024. If you could just give us clarity as to how this case has been processed.
Well, I think the clarity has been provided by the Apex Court. We got into this unfortunate situation in 2021. Incidentally, I was not the national chairman then. Dr. Victor Oye was. Prior, or in the build-up to the Anambra governorship election in 2021, some persons who wanted to foist themselves on the party traveled all the way to Jigawa, purportedly to coronate another person as a national chairman of APGA. And in that suit, they told a story. They said that Edozie Njoku was a national chairman and then he was subsequently suspended, and in his stead, one Judicial was appointed. Meanwhile, both Edozie Njoku and the said Judicial were unknown to members of APGA, because everybody knows that APGA had a convention in Awka in 2019 that brought Dr. Victor Oye back to office for a second term. And so the madness continued. And then ultimately, when the High Court of Jigawa gave that judgment, Oye, who was removed, because if you read the suit, the way it was crafted, it will seem as if there was an attempt to remove Njoku. Meanwhile, the person that was actually removed was Oye, because Njoku, like we consistently maintained, was unknown to the party, was not a member of the party at that time, was not an officer of the party, and could not lay claim to any legitimate leadership position in the party. So that's how this whole thing started. And the Court of Appeal, Kano, after looking at the briefs filed, came to the conclusion that by a subsisting judgment of Anambra State High Court and a document showing that INEC duly monitored this convention, that Oye was the national chairman, and thereby set aside both The suit struck out the suit filed at the Jigawa High Court, set aside the proceedings, and declared everything a nullity. Ultimately, the Supreme Court affirmed the judgment. But in the Supreme Court judgment, there was what we'll call an accidental slip, an error. Because before a court delivers judgment, it first of all reproduces what we call the background fact or the material fact. And so in trying to reproduce the material fact, they accidentally mentioned Oye as the person, like I told you, the person that they claimed in the suit at Jigawa that was removed was Njoku, not Oye. So the Supreme Court accidentally mentioned Oye's name instead of Njoku. That was what happened. And when the Supreme Court corrected its judgment, the next thing we saw, because we felt that was the end of the matter, the next thing we saw that there was an attempt for someone to enforce a non-existent right. And ultimately, of course, you know the story, the unfortunate recognition by INEC. And then we had no option because even what was even more worrisome was the fact that while all these things were going on, the tenure in question elapsed. Because that's another story most people don't even get. You're trying to lay claim to a particular right for a certain term of office between 2019 and 2023. The law is very clear. The moment you're trying to pursue, for example, you say you elected the governor of a state and for a fixed 4-year term, once you are in court and that term of office elapses, we say that that suit has become academic because there is actually nothing in the suit for the court to grant again. And so we were surprised when INEC issued the recognition, even after the term of office in question had long elapsed. And so we are glad because I wouldn't want us to begin to go into all these needless stories. The most important thing is that the Supreme Court has been able to provide certainty and clarity for the party, and we are ready to move forward.
Okay, no, you have not answered my question. It's good, you've given a background.
Okay.
I was asking you to clarify how and why a matter that had been decided by the Supreme Court will still show up at a Federal High Court, Buhari, Abuja, who went to court, and the judgment...
No. You're okay. Let me explain the suit, because I didn't know you are referring to the suit I filed before Honorable Justice Omotosho.
I mentioned his name.
I'm coming. That's where I'm coming. Now, when INEC purported to issue the recognition on the 9th of July 2024, we wrote to INEC because even the judgment in question, the judgment of the FCT High Court, which they procured, and the subsequent affirmation of that judgment by the Court of Appeal, if you read the full text of that judgment, you will see, first of all, Njoku was not even a party in the matter. It was Oye and two persons who are laying claim as members of purported national officers under Njoku. Now, INEC purported to rely on that judgment to confer the right for him to, of course, bear the insignia of the national chairman of our political party. We studied that judgment. Incidentally, I'm a lawyer. We studied that judgment, and we saw that there was nowhere in the judgment where the court pronounced Njoku as national chairman. And so we wrote to INEC, and we said, please, can you clarify your position? Tell us the judgment you're relying on. And in any event, like I said earlier on, that the tenure in question had elapsed, assuming without conceding that there was even an enforceable right in that judgment. That tenure in office elapsed on the 31st of May 2023. So there was absolutely nothing to enforce. So when INEC refused to clarify its position or to avail us any copy of the judgment that they relied on, or anywhere, or show us anywhere it was explicitly stated that you should recognize so and so person as a national chairman of APGA, we had no option than to go to a court of competent jurisdiction, which was the Federal High Court, to determine, because, you see, if you know the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you know that Section 251 confers what we call the original jurisdiction on the Federal High Court in relation to matters listed in that particular section. And one of them, with regards to the review of any action or inaction of a federal government agency. And so we brought that suit asking the court, because INEC, in the performance of its statutory obligation, has purported to confer a right on somebody pursuant to a non-existing court order. And we said, please, my lord, look at so and so judgment, because we brought all the judgment before the court. Is there anything, is there any judgment, is there any order conferring any leadership position on so and so person? And that was the judgment that was delivered by Honorable Justice Omotosho on 20th of November 2024, where he clearly stated that there is no judgment of any court anywhere that has conferred any leadership position on Chief Edozie Njoku as the national chairman of APGA.
Okay.
So that's what happened with that court.
You just
and like I said,
question.
The Supreme Court has now delivered, yes, and Supreme Court has now delivered its judgment, validating, because, you know, when Justice Omotosho delivered the judgment, it was unfortunate. I always say it. When the FCT High Court judgment was delivered, I didn't use any deprecating words on the Honorable Justice that delivered the judgment. Neither did I use so on the Court of Appeal. But we saw how they went to town, you know, spewing all manner of, well, I don't want to go there. But the most important thing is that the innocent judge has now been vindicated by the Supreme Court.
Okay, so the innocent judge has now been vindicated, and now you are having your victory lap, and you're enjoying yourself. Pretty much, you know, you came here, you were wait, now, let me finish, my brother. You too dey jump.
My good brother, Rufai.
You dey bear like, oh yeah.
No,
let me serenade your victory. Let me serenade your victory. It's a hard-fought victory, I must have to say. So you're having your victory lap, you know, you're enjoying yourself and all of that. This is good. You know, the first thing you said was, you are so happy Dr. Batika called you, you know, the chairman of APGA. Because I remember how heated the conversation used to be. So I know why you said that, you know, how heated those conversations were. So you're having your victory lap.
Absolutely.
But moving forward for me, after all of this, congratulations. What are you going to do to bring the party together? Because see, yes, you've had a victory in court, but the Njoku factor will not go. Those that supported Njoku will not go. APGA, or APGA, like you guys call it, is still pretty much divided down the middle. And there are still going to be challenges. With all of this, are you going to call Njoku to the table and say, for what it's worth, let's make peace? I know both parties have been hurt. You know, we have a saying in Yoruba land that you don't go to court with somebody and still become friends with the person. But for the interest of your party and the future of your party, you need to call Njoku. What do you say to this?
Now, to answer your question straight, immediately after the judgment of the court, while there was celebration ongoing, I addressed the press that came there, and I said that the judgment of the Supreme Court does not really call for celebration. For me, it calls for sober reflection. It calls for us to close ranks within the party. It calls for unity. It calls for renewed sense of purpose for the members of the party. And like I said on various interviews I've granted, we're talking about our political party, the All Progressives Grand Alliance. And we are all brothers. It's one united family. I said it, the only problem I have, like I've always said, I said, if Edozie Njoku feels intensely committed to APGA, then the first step is to lure him to join the party formally. Because I've consistently maintained from all verifications that we've conducted, he's not a registered member of the party. So that is for Dr. Chief Edozie Njoku. Now, there are some members of the party who were genuinely confused because I said this, I do not blame any member of the party who decides to follow Njoku. INEC is the regulatory agency empowered by law to monitor the activities of political parties. And on the 9th of July, INEC updated its website and published fresh list of purported members of the National Working Committee of APGA. And so it will not be out of place for a member of the party to follow those that INEC has published as national officers of the party, even though we tried as much as possible to correct that anomaly. But I'm not holding it against any genuine member of the party who was confused or misled by all these issues. The most important thing is that the Supreme Court has now returned what I call clarity and certainty to APGA. Now we know the national leadership of APGA. Now we know that those who were elected on the 31st of May 2023 are legitimately in office. And what we are doing now is to vigorously pursue a reconciliation process that tries to bring back everybody within the fold. Remember, in 2025, we are facing a major election in the only state we are controlling. And there is nobody who enters a war divided that particular war does any good. So for us, the most important thing is that we must head into that war as one united big family. Any moment from now, we are going to call probably a National Executive Committee meeting, and we are going to trash all these issues. We are going to set various committees. We are going to reach out to individuals. The most important thing is, for me, it is about APGA. APGA first. And so, for us, we look at the manifesto of the party, we look at the ideologies. If there are some persons that we have identified in the course of this fight, whose sense of purpose aligns with the core mantra and ideologies of the party, the mantra of leaving no one behind, we will do everything to woo that person to join our ranks. The most important thing is that we'll continue to preach the gospel of APGA to make sure that the APGA message resonates around the entire country. That's our only mission. So there is no celebration. You know, when you talked about I'm having my victory laugh, for me, there is no celebration. It is time for us to close ranks and move forward.
One united party you speak of. Let's talk about APGA's strategic APGA's strategic vision post-crisis. We do know that your party has traditionally been seen as a regional party with strongholds in the Southeast. What concrete strategies will you implement to expand the party's reach and appeal to voters across Nigeria beyond its traditional bases? We're looking at a political environment dominated by the APC and dominated by the PDP as well. How does APGA plan to position itself as a viable alternative? Will the party focus on grassroots mobilization, policy innovation, or alliances with other parties as we gear up for, I mean, it's still far away, but you know, we're already doing groundwork for the 2027 elections.
Absolutely, yes. For me, one thing that informed my coming on board as the national chairman of APGA was the outcome of the 2023 general election. If you recall, that election was not so good for our party in terms of the fact that we lost some of our stronghold to the opposition. But then, there was one very interesting and significant statistics that when we went back to the drawing board, we saw from the election. We saw that there was an increased participation and interest from young persons. In fact, some persons put the demographics or the statistics at about 55% of those that actually voted during the 2023 general election were young persons aged between 18 and say about 49, 50 years. And now, what the party did was to react to that quest by young people, was to show that they've listened to the young persons of Nigeria and that they see that there is that increased awareness and the urge for them to participate in taking the decision or in the decision-making of their country. And that was what led to my election as a national chairman. Probably some say that I'm the youngest national chairman in the country. Well, I've not really looked duly at that statistics. But for us, now, when we came into office, we designed for us what we'll call the manifesto for us to take APGA from the present level to the next positive level. And that's what led to what I call the DRIVE agenda. It was an acronym for discipline, because we looked at certain issues of indiscipline within the party. We looked at the possibility of repositioning the party and rebranding the party as a youth-friendly party. We looked at the possibility of having an inclusive leadership. And then we tried as much as possible to make visible the achievements of the party and then the expansion. That is the drive. But I'm going to just talk about the visibility. Visibility in the sense that APGA, if you follow the trajectory of development that Anambra State has witnessed from 2006, that the first governor of Anambra on the platform of APGA, Mr. Peter Obi, was elected, we look at his achievements in office, we look at his successor, Chief Willie Obiano, and ultimately Professor Soludo, you will see, and I stand to be corrected, that maybe you may just count 1 or 2 states that have witnessed that trajectory of development. And I say that people are not looking in the right direction. It is not as a result of those individuals. It is a result of the ideology of our political party. And what we are saying is, look, entrust us with the affairs of this country, that we can do better. Come and see the model of governance that has been shown in Anambra State for the past 18 years or so. And so for us, it is the mission for us to, one, show the progress the party has made, and as much as possible, try to expand the party. Like you mentioned, the party has its appeal around the Southeast. And you will not, of course, isolate that from the events that led to the, of course, the registration of the party between 2002 and 2003. But for us, we have crossed that Rubicon. It is now time for us to open up the party to our brothers across the country to see, look, APGA is the answer to the myriads of the problem that is facing this country. And we are more than ever renewed and reinvigorated to vigorously pursue the drive agenda of my administration in APGA.
Okay, Chairman. One of the major issues in the ruling, the judgment delivered by Justice James Omotosho, was a declaratory order, in fact, an order of mandamus, that INEC must recognize you as the chairman of the party. Now, where are we now, a week after, with INEC? Have you contacted INEC? Has INEC responded? Has the correction been made?
Well, of course, certainly, immediately the judgment of Honorable Justice Omotosho was delivered. We took steps immediately, in fact, either that day or the following day, to obtain the certified true copy of both the judgment of the court and the judgment order. And we wrote to the commission, and then we duly attached those judgments, both the judgment and the judgment order. Incidentally, we are yet to receive the judgment of the Supreme Court. But then even the judgment of the Supreme Court aside, there is actually nothing that is stopping INEC from, of course, complying immediately with the judgment delivered by Honorable Justice Omotosho last week. But I can tell you, we do not have any official communication yet. Just yesterday, we looked at the INEC website and we saw that the names that they uploaded on the 9th of July are still there. In fact, if I finish from here, I'm going to proceed to the commission to see that that anomaly is corrected. But for me, I do not have any issues with INEC. INEC is a reputable and a responsible institution. Maybe they made mistakes in the past, but for me, there is really nothing. I believe that the commission would ultimately take the decision as handed out by the courts.
Okay. Ogasla, you have to follow up well. This is Nigeria. Moving on. I want to ask. I want to ask. You talked about 2025 election coming, but what we are hearing out of Anambra is that Soludo is not giving the solution he said he was going to give. A lot of people have complained about high-handedness. A lot of people have complained that the dream, to be able to turn Anambra into some beacon of, hope, development, Taiwan, and all of that, that is not happened. So they are saying the election is going to be a hard sell for Soludo. One, what kind of conversations do you have with the governor as regards governance in the state? Secondly, how is APGA gearing up for that election? Because a lot of people are saying he has not delivered.
Well, let me first of all start by correcting a misconception. And incidentally, that misconception is not supported by verifiable facts and evidence on ground. One funny thing about opposition, and incidentally, that's the beauty of democracy, is as what we call freedom of expression. And so, of course, the majority will have their way, and then the minority will have their say. And then we have just very few tiny and discordant voices saying or making the position that you just said. In Anambra State today, if you go there, there is this popular mantra that the solution is here. And that solution, when you hear that saying, it is not just because people will just want to go about kerosene, the solution is here. It is because there are verifiable facts and evidence of the monumental achievement of the present APGA administration in Anambra State. From the area of road infrastructure, transformation of the health sector, transformation of the education sector. In fact, I do not even agree with your position, because even the opposition in Anambra State, like you said, the only thing you will hear them say is, that the governor is probably not just like you said. Some few persons will say, the governor is this, the governor is that. But nobody has come out to say that the governor has not performed. That would be, I do not even know how to describe that. In less than 3 years in office, and then when you put it into context or in trying to contrast the previous administration and what we have obtainably in even other states, because you must draw that comparison. In less than 3 years in office, a governor, with the dwindling resources of revenue, the inflation and everything, a governor has constructed well over 500 kilometers of roads, crisscrossing the entire local government in such a way that there are even local governments before that have not seen 1 square meter of tarred road. Okay. And you have tarred road or have accessible road getting to those places. You see you see the revamping of the entire health sector in the country. In the state. You see the social buckets that the governor has implemented, the free education policy, the employment of over 10,000 teachers, the access to free maternal, postnatal, and all these healthcare issues. You see, and then the free education policy and so many of them. I think it will be a very big misconception to make that position about Anambra State and the government of Professor Charles Soludo, who incidentally, like I said, anywhere I go, I say it proudly that he's our greatest asset. And we try as much as possible. When I talked about the visibility, part of the visibility that we want to give to Africa is to show to other states that this is what...
Chairman Ezeokenwa, don't let this become an advertisement.
Yes, Dr. Ruben.
Don't let this become an advertisement for APGA.
No. It's not an advertisement.
We seem to have run out of
facing facts.
We seem to have run out of time. And we'd like to thank you very much for joining us this morning.